Hey everyone, and welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're bringing you along for a full A350 arrival into Mauritius, starting right from the cruise. We'll kick things off with a quick Q&A, answering some of the great questions you submitted recently. Then we'll take you step by step through the full descent preparation, sharing the techniques and flows we use along the way. From descent management to configuring the approach, all the way down to touchdown and after landing procedures, this is a complete look at how we operate the A350 in real time. So whether you're a fellow pilot or just an aviation enthusiast, stick around, there's plenty to learn and enjoy. Let's get into it. So the first question, it says in the next video, which is the approach into Mauritius. Okay, so this one, can you also include the cockpit and FMS setup and show top of descent instead of starting directly on final approach? Thank you so much for the question, and absolutely we will. This is what the video is going to cover. We'll start from cruise, which we're in now, and go through the full cockpit setup, as well as the top of descent planning. And then I'll walk you through the steps that we take to prepare for arrival, just like we do in the real world. And as well, in the description, if you look there, you'll also find the flows that we do for each phase of flight, from the cruise all the way up until we parked at the gate. So I hope that's useful for you. Thanks so much for the question. So the next question is, what's a cool, unique A350 feature that makes the pilot's life a lot easier? Thank you very much for the question. And yeah, I'd say in normal operations, the fact that the EFB is now touchscreen is a real game changer. It's sleek, modern, it has a super intuitive user interface. And we use the EFB for everything, from viewing charts to doing performance calculations. And to have it now right at our fingertips just makes it a lot easier. And another great touch as well is that we can now use the cursor to move the pointer across multiple screens. So the MFD, the navigation display, and then also onto the EFB as well. So gone are the days of having to take out the big clunky keyboard and move the mouse to use the EFB. You still can do that if that's what you prefer, but yeah, now we can just use touchscreen, we can use the cursor, and it just makes everything so seamless and makes interacting with the aircraft systems a lot more efficient. So yeah, I really like that. And then in terms of the abnormal side of things, I'd probably say that the automatic emergency descent function, the AED, is an excellent safety addition. And what it is that in the event of a loss of cabin pressure at high altitude, the aircraft can now initiate an emergency descent, either automatically without any pilot input, or by just pilots pressing a button essentially and deploying the speed brakes. So yeah, really good, and that will definitely enhance everyone's safety and protect the aircraft as well. So yeah, really like that function. And if you want to have a deeper dive into how the AED works, I've actually made a separate video explaining it in detail, including a real-time demonstration. So definitely worth a watch if you want to find out more information about the 350. And yeah, check out the channel for more of that. All right, moving on. And the next question is, are you going to be releasing more A320 type rating content? Yes, we are, and we're actually working on something really exciting. By the end of the year, we'll be releasing a full A320 type rating course on our own website. This is going to be built by pilots, designed specifically for pilots who are going through their type rating, as well as trainee pilots or just aviation enthusiasts who just want to understand the aircraft a bit better. This course will combine in-depth theoretical lessons with real-time practical demonstrations. And one of the big issues with type ratings these days, and this was exactly the same when I did my type rating, is that you're just handed a stack of manuals to read at the start, and then suddenly you're expected to perform these things perfectly in the simulator. And so what we're aiming to do is bridge that gap by showing you not just the what, but also the how, with clear, practical videos on a range of key topics. We want this course to be the resource we wish we had when we were doing our own type ratings. And it's hopefully going to be something that makes the learning process smoother, more visual, and more effective. So I really am excited to bring it to you guys and hope that you really find it useful when it's out there. Stay tuned on the channel for more information regarding this. But if it is something that you're excited about, please just let me know in the comments, and I'd love to hear your thoughts on it. Great, some good questions here. So the next one is, how does the iniBuilds A350 compare to real life operations? Yeah, overall it's very good. Surprisingly close actually to how the real aircraft operates. I completed my A350 training a few months ago, and I actually used the iniBuilds A350 during my study and preparation. It really helped me visualize procedures and flows, especially when reviewing things at home. It handles both normal and abnormal operations really well, which is a huge plus. Of course, it's not a completely polished product yet, but is it good? Absolutely. That said, there is still room for improvement. For example, it would be great to see more abnormal procedures included. The current set is a good start, but expanding it would make it even more useful for those using it in flights, in their training, or just content creators as well. But honestly, all things considered, it is an excellent bit of software, and I think iniBuilds have done a phenomenal job. Whether you're preparing for your training or just want to get a deeper feel for the A350, I would highly recommend it. I know price-wise it is a little bit steep, but for me, well worth every penny. Okay, we probably have time for one more question, so we'll answer this one. What's your favorite airport to fly into? I'd probably say Funchal in Madeira is definitely one of my favorites. Been lucky enough to have flown there a few times, and yeah, the approach there is unique and often very, very challenging as well. Strong winds, terrain, a curved final approach, it really keeps you focused and sharp every time. But yeah, it is definitely challenging to fly into. Mauritius actually is another one I enjoy, not just because it's a beautiful island destination, but because the arrival can actually be a little bit tricky depending on the winds, the weather. You have tropical cyclones coming in, so yeah, it's always a bit challenging. And then we've also been to San Francisco, and it's not so much a difficult airport in the same way that Mauritius is, but what makes it stand out is how incredibly busy it is, with multiple runways in use and aircraft constantly arriving and departing. The way that ATC manages that flow so smoothly is pretty impressive. It's always fun to be part of, and San Francisco is a fantastic layover. So yeah, and I've been lucky enough to fly to some brilliant airports, some challenging ones, some fun ones. So yeah, I'd say those three are three that come to mind. Okay, that's probably all we have time for, so thank you so much for all of your questions, and I do hope that you found the answers useful. So now we'll go into the full arrival procedure for Mauritius, starting from just before top of descent in the cruise, and all the way until we park up. So I really hope you found it useful, and if there's any questions that you may have, just please drop us a comment and I'll do my best to get back to you. Thanks very much, and hope you enjoyed the video. Okay everybody, welcome back, and as you can see, we are in the cruise and we are well on our way to Mauritius. In fact, we'll be beginning our descent shortly. We can see this as it says this TD means top of descent, and that is at 0311, and the time is now 2:51. So in 20 minutes time we'll be beginning our beginning our descent into Mauritius. So before we do that, there are a few things that we need to do. So what I like to do here is I like to use the acronym WCLFOB. That's WCLFOB. The W stands for weather. So we're going to get the weather in Mauritius, and usually we would do this by getting the ATIS. But today we don't have that, as the ATIS is not online. So there are a few ways that we can do this. Firstly, on the landing performance, we can, if we just hit sync, that would just give us the latest weather that we need to know, but then that won't tell us things like cloud base or everything like that. So I'm just going to get the meta, which we can get using the AOC function here. Currently it is 110 at 10, all the 9s scattered at 18, 24 degrees, QNH 1022. And also, if possible, we will get a DATIS. We can't get that today, so I'm just going to have a quick look online, and we can see that the weather is pretty much exactly the same. Just the only thing is that we have a QNH now of 1020, so we'll update that. So 1020 is set there, and we'd preset 1020. Notice how we're not actually pulling it, we're just pre-selecting it. Now C stands for charts, and here we can go on the terminal charts part of the OIS, and this will bring us up the charts that we need for Mauritius. And here we can pick what exactly we need. So here I've gone for the ILS approach onto runway 14. We can also get the arrival charts and any ground charts that will help us navigate once we land. Again, I'm going to use my personal iPad for this, as I just prefer to use the Lido software, but if you don't have access to that, then you can definitely use the Jefferson charts on if you're using the 2020 version of iniBuilds. So that is weather, charts, and then L stands for landing performance. So what we're going to do is we're going to come down to landing performance here on the OIS, click that, and then we're presented with this bit of software. So in order to calculate landing performance, the first thing we're going to do is hit sync FMS, and then we can see that brings us up with Mauritius, runway 14. Now we can also see the length, 3369 meters. So this is just something that's really important to double check, because this length is actually wrong. Instead, if we have a look at the charts, we can see that the length for Mauritius is actually 3040 meters. So let's insert that in here, 3040. The elevation is correct, and then for the conditions, to insert the conditions, we can either insert it using the weather that we got from the ATIS, or to save time, we can just press this sync button. And we can see that with these current conditions, wind 150 at 6, 24 degrees, 1020, the runway condition is dry. Our landing weight, 188.4, and our current weight is 190 tons. So again, just to be super conservative here, I'm just going to insert 190 tons as our current landing weight. We'll go for a config of full, and landing technique manual. Brake mode is going to be, we'll put manual, but you can select manual or medium. So we'll just put in manual, and we will use no reverses. Just to make this slightly more conservative in our calculation, we're going to put in no winds, because at the moment we have a headwind component of 6 knots, and by removing that it just gives us a little bit more conservative figures. So after that we're going to hit compute, and we can see that we are given 2 figures, a factored landing distance and a landing distance. In normal operations, we don't just use the raw landing distance. What we care about is the factored landing distance, which adds a safety margin on top of the actual distance required to stop the aircraft. This accounts for variables like changing weather, runway conditions, or pilot technique, giving us a buffer to ensure a safe landing even if things don't go exactly as planned. So with that in mind, we have a factored landing distance of 1500 meters and a landing distance of 1304 meters. That gives us plenty of stop margin, so I'm happy with that. And that's basically how we do a landing distance calculation. Now, when calculating landing performance on the iniBuilds A350, the EFB gives you the flexibility to adjust the inputs based on the actual conditions you're facing. And you can modify these factors, allowing you to tailor the landing distance to a specific scenario. So I would advise you, on the flights, play around with these figures, get used to the landing performance software, because it is a really cool tool which definitely adds a high level of realism to our flights. So that is weather charts, landing performance done. The next thing is FMS. And we're just going to go through the FMS here, basically make sure that we are happy with what we've got. So I put the ILS Yankee for runway 14 in, and we're doing the star. And I haven't put a VIA in just to kind of essentially give us, it cleans it up quite nicely. You'll see what I mean. So looking through that, we can go on plan here and just flick through that. And as you can see, plan is head to RASMA, and then after RASMA, Fox Lima Alpha Charlie, and then it's pretty much a direct in to runway 14 from there. We'd also be checking the missed approach and basically just looking, matching this up with the chart and making sure that we are happy with that. Next thing we do is the performance, and for the approach, here firstly for the descent, usually 325 knots is quite a fast descent, so I might just change that to 300. And then on the approach page, just putting in the latest weather. 1506, 24 degrees, and 1020. So with regards to the minima here, we're going to be using a Cat 1 minima of 470. And the transition level was slightly higher. We'll just put 60 for today. That's great for the go around. We can just leave it as that. Some people do like to change. Some companies will get you to change the acceleration and engine out acceleration altitude. That just varies from airline to airline. On the position page, we're just checking two things here. The monitor, we want to make sure that, we've got IRS GPS, that's good. Nav primary, and finally the navaids. The navaids India Papa Lima we'll use for the ILS, and anything that we want to hard tune on the VOR as well. We can also check other things if we want, so the GNSS page, the number of satellites, and then finally the secondary, we can just go on Sec 1, and we can see it's empty. Well, we don't need anything in there right now. So that's WCLF, and then O is the OANS. And this is actually something I took from the A380. And on the A350, the OANS is called the ANF. ANF stands for Airport Navigation Function. And here we are going to set up the BTV, the Brake to Vacate system. So let's have a look at how to do this. So we're going to reduce the zoom on the ND range selector and also select plan. So we've got Mauritius selected, and we can see that this dry line is appearing here. So with that in mind, the dry line is just after Charlie, so we can take Delta as a suitable runway exit point. And if I just zoom in here, and I'm going to click Delta, and then you just set BTV exits. So that comes up in blue now. Hit auto brake. Then you've got BTV. So BTV blue, and you can see that the runway length has been checked, and the exit is, so we're going to use 2,447 meters of runway, occupancy time of 289 seconds, and the turnaround, if we use full reverse, it's going to be 70 minutes, and if we use idle reverse, it's going to be 100 minutes. So that's the BTV explained, and final thing that we need to do is brief. So in the arrival brief, we'll cover the big picture stuff like the star, the approach, the runway, the minima, and the go around plan. And then we'll also highlight any weather, terrain or traffic threats, and then confirm the landing performance and the braking configuration. So in today's case, we are doing the Fox Lima Alpha Charlie 1 arrival, and that will take us onto an ILS Yankee approach for runway 14. So having a look at the chart, is there anything that stands out in particular? So for today's approach, we are flying a 3.5 degree glide path. And so this means that we're going to have a slightly earlier configuration, as reducing that energy when on the glide path is going to be a little bit harder today. So I'm basically looking to be fully configured by the time we reach C Pepets, which is the final approach point. Okay, our initial clearance is sent to 290, so we've got thrust des, Mach des, flight level 290 blue. So that's the acronym explained then. So WCLFOB, so weather, charts, landing performance, FMS, OANS, which is now the ANF, and the briefing. So I hope you find that useful. Direct Etkis, Speedbird 7 November Echo. Okay, so direct to Etkis, so we can do this multiple different ways. We can do it on the FMS here by clicking on Etkis from present position direct to. We can hit the direct button and hit Etkis from there. Or we can do it on the navigation display, that's what I'm going to do today. If we click on Etkis from present position direct to, there we go. Now proceeding direct to Etkis. Continue descent level 150, Speedbird 7 November Echo. Maintain current heading, Speedbird 7 November Echo. Okay, that's thrust idle open descent heading. Continue descent, flight level 90, Speedbird 7 November Echo. Descend flight level 70, Speedbird 7 November Echo. Cool, so how are we looking? So 3 times 13 is 39, plus another 10 on the speed, 49, let's call it 50 track miles. And currently, we've got about 50 track miles, so it's still looking good. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to extend the center line from Big R. So we can do this by clicking Big R, from present position direct to, course in, and then the course in that we're going to use is 136. There we go. And then pull the heading. So we can see now that we've got a nice extended center line from Big R. And we're passing 10,000 feet, so the landing lights can come on. We'll press the 2 LS buttons, and that will give us, eventually that will show India Papa Lima, maybe when we're a bit closer. Left turn heading 110, descend altitude 5,000 feet, speedbird 7 November Echo. Great, so left heading 110, and we can set the QNH 1020. So QNH is cross-checked, passing 8,700, descending 5,000 feet, and now we can do the approach checklist. So the approach checklist, Barra Ref, QNH 1020, and PM will read there QNH 1020. Minimum, we got Barra 470 set. Runway condition is dry 6, we read that from here. Runway condition is dry 6, and auto brake is BTV. BTV setup. Checklist complete. I want to say as well for the BTV, if we just go on that quickly, it says dry 6. That's because the runway's dry. If we change that, we can turn this knob here, and that will give us all these different BTV modes for all the runway codes. So we can see if the runway's icy, it's actually the distance is too short. But today it is dry, so we'll keep it as dry. But yeah, that is more type rating stuff, but it's just a good to know one. So if you are landing in wet conditions, snowy conditions, definitely set the BTV to the appropriate runway condition code. It's really important that you do that. Continue descent 4,000 feet, speedbird 7 November Echo. Okay, 4,000 blue. So we've done the approach checklist, and now we just got to focus on flying the approach. Left heading 100, cleared to the ILS approach. Runway 14, speedbird 7 November Echo. Great, so we've been cleared for the approach, so we can press the approach push button, the other autopilot, and we got GS lock blue, land 3 dual AP1+2. And we can start slowing down now, so we will activate the approach phase, so performance. Activate the approach phase, confirm. So that is speed out star. And we'll go flaps 1. Speed is checked. Flap 1.
2,500.
Lock star. And we'll go flaps 2 before the glide path intercepts. So speed checked, flap 2, reducing to 160 knots. GS star and 4,000 feet is set for the missed approach.
$2,000.
GS. And gear down. Gear is coming down. We'll arm the ground spoilers and put on the takeoff and landing lights. Go flaps 3, speed is checked, flap 3. And then finally flaps full, speed checked, flaps full. So as planned, we have just passed the final approach point, CPEP'd, and we are fully configured with the landing gear down. So just a landing checklist to go and the speed to be managed. So we'll keep 160 knots until 5. That's usually what air traffic control want. And we'll just assume that the cabin is ready.
$1,000.
Speed managed, and that's not actually 1,000 feet above the airport elevation. That's just 1,000 feet above the ground that we're flying at the moment. So speed managed, and now we can do the landing checklist. So landing checklist is complete, it's all green. Cool, so we've done the landing checklist, we are fully stabilized, and now we can just focus on landing. Okay, that is 1,000 feet, and we are fully stabilized. The landing checklist is complete, and we have our landing clearance.
500. $400.
Land, disconnecting autopilots. Runway 14 clear to land, speedbird 7 November Echo.
300. $100 above.
Checked.
Minimum 200.
Continue.
$100, 90, 80, 70, 60, 50, 40, 30, 20. Retard. 10, 5.
So, spoilers. Reverse green. BTV decel. I'll reverse 70 knots. And as planned, the next exits should be where we are planning to vacate. So manual braking. That master caution is just for the auto brake off. Slow it down to about 10 knots here. Great, and clear left and clear right.
Stop and the seatbelt sign has been turned off. We remind you to check around your seat for any personal belongings before you leave the aircraft. On behalf of the crew, thank
Yankee Hotel Stand 15, Speedbird 7 November Echo. Cool, now that has done, we have vacated the runway and we can turn off the strobes, we can turn off the landing lights, and the lights can go to taxi. Disarm the spoilers and fully retract the flaps. And welcome to Mauritius. Beautiful approach, but you do see with that 3.5 degree glide slope, it definitely can catch you out if you're not fully ready for it. Towards the end of the approach, I was just focusing on my visual aiming point, so keeping those pappies at 2 reds, 2 whites. Glide slope did start to drift away, but at lower altitudes, I'm not going to start chasing it. I'm just going to keep my aiming point in sight, which is what I did, and yeah, from there, landed nicely in the touchdown zone. So we'll start the APU now, just because otherwise I will forget later. And then the next left will be hotel, and then from there we can taxi to stand 15. A few other aircraft here today. So we are clear left. Onto hotel, and then Papa to lead us in to stand 15. So this is stand 14, and so the next one will be stand 15. So before we turn onto our stand, the nose lights can be turned off. We'll make a slow turn onto the stand. At this point we can disarm the doors for arrival. And we've got no guidances, so we just have to pretend that we do. So down to about 2 knots or so. Yep, that'll do. Parking brake is set. The APU is available. So engines 1 and 2 can come off. The APU can come on. And the beacon is off, and seatbelts are off as the doors are disarmed. Final thing that we need to do, switch off the fuel pumps. And then finally the parking checklist. So the parking checklist: parking brakes or chocks, parking brake is set. Wing lights are off. And that is the parking checklist complete. And ladies and gentlemen, that is a full flight from London Gatwick to Mauritius. I do hope you enjoyed it. It was a pleasure having you on board with us today. If you haven't already, would really appreciate it if you showed some love and subscribed to the channel and just like the video. And if there's any questions that you have, please just do leave them in the comments section, and we'll do our best to get back to you. Well, that's all from me today. Do hope you enjoyed it, and we'll see you in the next one. Thanks very much, and bye-bye.